Okay, so today is the day, finally, CorOS 3.0. So it's 7 a.m. I'm in the Eastern time zone of the US, and right on schedule. My Quad Cortex is allowing me to download it. So I've already downloaded the update, and now I'm going to run it, and we'll see how long it takes. So interesting. It's a multi-step update process. So we finished the first part of the process, and now we're doing a second part around plugin compatibility. So we'll see how long this takes. So now we seem to be the third and final stage of the process. Right now we're about 14 minutes into the process. Okay, so our update is done. We are now on 3.0. Got it. Let's go ahead and we're going to go to an empty. Let's see what we got here. There's plugins. Going to hit the refresh. And there, I own the Plini, so it's showing that for me. And there's all the Plini pieces. All right, so I'm going to head over to the Cortex Control app, and we're going to check out how the plugins sound. So let's actually start out on the Neural DSP plugins page. So a couple of things here. One, you'll see that all of the plugins that are already X, you'll see they have a little coming soon logo with the Quad Cortex image with them. So that's good to see. You can kind of see which ones are going to be next up. It shows you this one's compatible. It shows you that one's compatible. And then you get into the ones that aren't the X version yet and therefore aren't even marked as coming soon. So it's good to know, the Nolly and the Parallax and the Sedano and the Fortin are the next up. So it's good to know that, especially when you're looking at which GIF to choose. And you can see after I upgraded my device, I get this little GIF logo up here. When I click on it, it says I get to claim my plugin. So I haven't decided which one I'm going to get yet, but just keep that in mind. There's been updates to the website as well, and you can kind of get more of a view as to what's going to be compatible. I know a lot of people are excited about getting Via's plugin on the Quad Cortex, mostly because of the synth capabilities, but I'm concerned that because of those synth capabilities, it might take a long time because that's a completely different kind of thing than is already on the Quad Cortex. It's one thing to port over some amps and effects, but to port over that synth capability may take a little time. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about grabbing the Rabea one as your free plugin. So let's go ahead and go over to my Cortex Cloud. I'm already connected up to my device. It seems to be working fine. I did upgrade it to Cortex Control version 1.1.0. Before, I believe it was 1.0.1. So keep that in mind too. After you upgrade your Quad Cortex to 3.0, you've got to upgrade your Cortex Control app. And we can see some new things on the screen here. We've got a plugins up here. We've got a new delay, a new compressor, a new pitch, new filter, new EQ, and new utility. So there's a lot of new devices. I'm going to make separate videos of going through those. This morning, what I want to focus on is making a preset out of the plugin components and then comparing it to how the plugin actually sounds. So I also have my Plini plugin up and running. I've got a couple presets that I created in the plugin. One thing you'll notice, so we go to the directory. Underneath the directory, you've got your favorites. There's presets, captures, IRs. There's a new one called plugins. And here's where you can see the plugins that are available. And one great thing here is you can also see the new foldering and subfoldering that's available on the new version of the Quad Cortex. So, a lot more capabilities around the ability to customize the structure of how your captures and presets are organized. So again, we'll go into that in the separate video. But one thing you'll notice here is there's no way for me to import the presets I created for the plugin. So for instance, I've got this chorus clean one. I've got a compressor on the front. We've got the speakers. I'm not really EQing it much. And we've got some delay and chorus and reverb on the end. But there's no way for me that I know of to bring this preset onto the Quad Cortex. So I'm going to have to recreate it. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's start with up front. I'm using a compressor. So let's go back to here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to bring in a plugin, Plini X. Plini comp. And if I go look at my settings, I had them at about 1030 or so. So we'll just pull it back to about 4. And we're going to save this as Plini X test. So now I'm going to go component by component and recreate it on the Quad Cortex. So I'll maybe accelerate this part of the video so you guys don't have to sit here and watch it. All right, so I've recreated the coarse clean tone from my plugin onto the Quad Cortex. So let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Sounds pretty good. But let's go ahead and compare it to the plugin. So I'm moving to this preset I have that I use the Quad Cortex as the interface into my plugin. And here's how this sounds. So it's pretty straightforward. Everything from the plugin is in this menu associated specifically with the plugins. So they don't mix the amps or effects or anything in with the other amps and effects from the Quad Cortex. And I think that makes it pretty clean. Number one, it's easier for them to constrain down to what you have bought and have access to. But two, I think it helps you kind of segment out. And so if you're looking for the devices from the preset, you know exactly where they are. You don't have to hunt and peck for them. So let's go ahead and try to bring over a crunchy tone. Okay, so I brought over the lower gain preset. And one thing I'm noticing, it seems like the plug-in amp has more gain on it. So I've got this, the gain at 4, the master at 8. Gain's at 4, the master's about at 8. So I'm not quite sure why. And there's no drive in front of it. So this could just be an input level thing. So maybe what I want to do is just push the gain of this just a little bit. We'll go to about 5.5. Maybe the input level is a little different. I think that may be closer. So it sounds good, but I'm having a little trouble getting it to match perfectly. So it seems like maybe when you're getting into the gain on the amps, there's some things you need to do to compensate for maybe different input levels. So just something to keep in mind. So overall, I think the port of the plugins onto the Quad Cortex has been really well done. I think it's pretty much a lift and shift. It sounds like the plugin. There's maybe a few tweaks you need to make to a few settings because of the different input levels and things like that. But overall, I think it was a really successful port of the plugin, at least the Plini plugin, onto the Quad Cortex. So the next step for me will be to continue to experiment with the plugins, but also get to know the new devices that are on the Quad Cortex. So look for some videos here in the near future, kind of going through those. But for now, I've had no issues with the upgrade. It's been very stable. Remember to upgrade your Cortex control along with your Quad Cortex and have fun playing around with all the new stuff. It's finally here. Soon is now. Thanks for watching.